Yes, sir. We back at it again, ladies and gentlemen. When the end zone in the building for the touchdown, taking the lead for our Philadelphia Eagles, one video at a time. Y'all know I do. Dropping buckets for the Dallas Mavericks. Got my content out today, but this is a State of the Birds call-in show. Been a minute since I officially did one of these. The last time I had a link up in the chat, it was for a live stream with the some New York Giants content creators. It got pretty funny at the end of that. It was very entertaining. But what's up, everybody? We're going to hear from the people on this one, the Bird family. We're going to converse on the situation with the Eagles right now, getting their first of a couple joint practices out of the way. And first, it was with the New England Patriots coming to the NovaCare complex, getting some of those 7-on-7, 11-on-11 drills in. Some one-on-ones were going on. We had some players returning as well. Some went down for injury scares and of the like. So we're going to eventually see, how the roster pans out as a whole. Got a couple of comments in the house here. Big Play Slay was in the building earlier. What up, man? Hanging out from earlier. I was in a call-in show with Eagles Uncensored. He had one going on a little earlier that I was in. Good to be seeing y'all again today. Coach Dante in the house. What up, man? Content creator himself, whether it's the Philadelphia Eagles, the Houston Rockets, or Houston Texans. Speaking of which, we got to get some NBA stuff in there, Dante. Can't forget about that. We're going to clash like the two Texas teams do every now and then. Yes, sir. What is up? What is up? So, we got a lot to talk about with this joint practice on how the Birds did against that New England Patriot team, still coached by one of the best in history in Bill Belichick. This was, outside of the pizzazz of plays being made in the joint practice from our players, this was also very good in a sense that first-year coach Nick Sirianni, and whether it's him or Shane Steichen, who does have some veteran experience, or Jonathan Gannon as a first-year defensive coordinator, a lot of guys at those coaching positions, learning from one of the best in the business, the coaching staff, getting to talk with guys like Bill Belichick or Josh McDaniels or Matt Patricia, individuals that have accumulated a string of success throughout the years. And, it's just as good for the players as it is the coaching staff getting to pick some of these veteran brains. And, this puts Sirianni in a very good position. And, I can't wait to see how these players learn through the joint practices and through the preseason game that we're going to have against the New England Patriots, whether they're going against Mac Jones or Cam Newton, whether with that first or second string offense. This is going to be a very good learning experience for a football team. Eagle Slayer, Lindy Legend, what is going on, man? Good to see you. Jay Fizz, man, it's been a minute. What's good to you too, my man? Been an awfully long time. We're definitely going to get these lines opened up because this is, State of the Birds. We got to find out from the people what y'all are thinking going into the joint practices and such, and, going from there on out. A couple other quick notes that we can go over is the injury situation. So we did have an update on some players. John Hightower and Kayvon Wallace returned today, who were week to week for their respected injuries. John was dealing with a groin. Kayvon Wallace was also dealing with a groin. They didn't just bounce from week to week to day. They actually, they may respectively still be day to day, but they're going to be limited, from this moment forward. In practice, they both come off of their groin injuries. Devontae Smith is ramping up a little bit as we speak, him coming off of that MCL sprain in his knee. Grayland Arnold came back limited with a hamstring. Jannard Avery with his own groin issue. Jason Kroom with a knee. Isaac Seumalo with a hamstring. And LaRaven Clark just recently getting activated, and us not necessarily too sure whether he's going to start week 1. He actually gets activated, and he's wrapping up after being on the physically able to perform list. So that is good. That is good. And then that leaves a small list for the day-to-day. Jason Huntley, he's got a rib issue. Craig James with the foot. Ryan Kerrigan just got surgery on his hand, dealing with a thumb, so he's still day-to-day. And then defensive end turned linebacker Joe Osman, he suffered a concussion, presumably in the Steelers game, or at some point afterward. So he's day-to-day as well. Week to week changed it a little bit. So Kerryon Johnson got added there. It seems that the same knee that he tore his meniscus in is still giving him an issue. That's not good in terms of him making the football team, with us knowing the best ability is availability. So he was supposed to provide some sort of competitive edge to whether it was that 2 through 4 spot at the running back position. We've thought for a while now that he was probably going to be around there, and we couldn't imagine that the Eagles were going to keep more than 4 running backs. So that's not so much like another one bites the dust, but it sucks to be in his position right now. And it also sucks that he just can't seem to keep that knee healthy. I would rather deal with a shoulder stinger and it not bothering Jordan Howard as much as it did, and then I'd rather deal with that than going through this same kind of knee problem that's bothering Kerryon Johnson to this day. That also included in the week-to-week, we already know of Andre Dillard's knee sprain. He was out there today with a brace, so we don't know whether he's going to be upgraded soon or not. I can't imagine. They're probably going to take a similar time frame like they did with Devontae Smith. For what it's worth, Andre was a first-round pick, and keeping on that similar schedule, like Devontae was. Jacoby Stevens still dealing with a hamstring. Davion Taylor still dealing with a calf. And Casey Tucker still dealing with that bicep issue. They're all week to week. So as I went, man, we got a bunch more comments in here. So I was going through all that for a minute. Eagles Uncensored, AK, what is up, my man? Good to be a part of that call-in earlier. Gave me some entertainment on my second break at work. So shout out to the Eagles Uncensored podcast, and him actually catching me in subscribers already. He now hit the 200 mark. So I got a bit of work to do. Halen, what's going on? What's good? Jay Fitz, I know, bro. You've been grinding hard. Yeah, I know. My teams have been keeping me busy, whether it's the Eagles or Dallas Mavericks. They've been keeping me pretty busy. Jay Fizz goes, who do you think should take the last 2 receiver spots? Man, it is a tough one, and we have to go off of the current injury report. We were expecting Hightower to be one of those guys, and JJ Arcega-Whiteside hasn't made the most of his opportunities as of right now. Him actually being a part of that second string in the unofficial depth chart, putting him in the slot. He didn't make much of an impact when he was on the field against the Steelers, but he was contributing in special teams. So we'll see we'll see how that goes on from there. But I guess time will still tell in that regard. Yeah, I mean, time's still going to tell. The best ability is availability. The first round of roster cuts come tomorrow, the day before the preseason game, where the team has to cut down to 85 players. I think we're currently at so we waived two. We waived Caleb Wilson, and we also waived Adrian Killens, but we brought in Mark and Michelle. So if I'm doing the math right, I think we're still at about 89 on the active roster right now. So we do have to make cuts to trim it to 85 by 4 o'clock tomorrow, just so we're prepared to go into the preseason game on Thursday. Let's see here. Jordy in the house as well. What's going on, man? We're going to have to get into some further conversations about your Boston Celtics. You guys, we already talked about you guys picking up Dennis Schroeder. And then, in other good news, I guess, for Celtics fans, that y'all locked up Marcus Smart on a 4-year, $77 million deal. So, Jordy, I will have to get your thoughts on that one as well. Philly Jim in the house. What is going on, man? Good to see you in here. Shout out to Philly Jim getting a new job. Should be much happier where he's at, doing sports books and whatnot. Let's see. What am I going to be doing Friday at 4? It's Giants debate show I'm hosting for Eagles reps and for Giants reps. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing on Friday yet, but we'll see what comes up on the timetable. My schedule is currently open, but I just go day by day in case I get other offers for collaborations and et cetera, et cetera. So I try to keep myself as open as possible in that regard, but we'll see when the time comes. AK goes, when you're done with your calling, hope you come in over on mine. Yeah, man. If the time is there, I try not to stay up too late during the weeknights due to the first shift schedule and getting a decent amount of sleep going into the morning. But yeah, we'll find out. Angel 3, what is going on? Says, good evening, Lindy Legend. How are you? And go Birds. I'm doing all right. Eagles have been giving me quite a bit of content to go over lately with the joint practices. Joint practices, roster cuts. We have our preseason game coming up on Thursday and of the likes. So, and my Dallas Mavs have been keeping me busy as well with these Lowry marketing rumors and, me not too much on the boat with that right now. But ball is life, and bleed green till I die. So I mean, I'm loving it so far. I'm loving it. Jim going, maybe someone will bet box seats. Yeah, right. Jordy says, I'm excited to lock down Marcus. He's a great defender, and he's been great for us so far in his role. I'm excited for him to be here for a while longer. Yeah, Marcus Smart actually seems, to be excited. Posting on Twitter, he had 7 leaf clovers plus another 4 leaf clovers. So he seems pretty happy to be staying in Boston and getting the amount of money that he so deserves through the franchise, giving them as much time as he did so far in his NBA career. So we're about to reach that 15-minute mark. So I think it's a good time to open the lines because, again, this is about hearing from the people. I'm going to be in a collaboration with the fans here. Got to hear from y'all about the state of the Birds so far. One day away from the first series of roster cuts and the New England Patriots preseason game. So we will open the lines here and get this going. And there we go. make sure I actually get this pinned as well, so I am not posting it more than once. That is taken care of. All right, good deal. You know, in other news, obviously, you know, Quez Watkins is continuing to light up training camp. He was going at it with some of the Patriots players, getting in the face of Matt Judon, you know, a linebacker. He kept chirping at him. It was said that some of the Eagles coaching staff was trying to pull him back from that. So, you know, I'm loving the attitude of some of these players. You know, it just adds to that night, like that aggressive element, you know what I mean? You know, especially with us transitioning from the old regime to the new regime and seeing some of these up and coming guys really making noise and making sure that their voice is heard and being like, you know, I am arriving and you should be prepared for it. So Quez was still making people take notice. Jalen Reagor was getting in there a little bit in one-on-ones. You know, against the Patriots, DBs had a nice couple of catches. You know, I'm not gonna necessarily dive into the interceptions that Jalen Hurts you know, supposedly threw. It was anywhere from like 2 to 4 interceptions that there was talks about. 2 of them were deflections off receivers' hands. They couldn't haul the ball in, and then off of a tipped incompletion, the ball was intercepted. So I mean, you know, we've seen Carson. We've seen Carson go through some of that before. So I mean, you know, how I get it, how I approach it is, you know, we're in a position right now where we are, how can I put this? We should want to see Jalen Hurts, you know, make these mistakes now rather than later. Of course, this being practice, it's easier to learn from your mistakes now, especially in this kind of atmosphere, than it is, you know, down the road as he's growing as a quarterback and, you know, going through some of those issues then. But, you know, at the same time, you can also reflect on the idea that, you know, maybe committing some of these mistakes in an actual game atmosphere, you know, may also benefit him too, not on the side of making the mistake in general, but you know, like I guess being under that kind of pressure. So yeah, but you know, we'll see. Other than the offense doing its job, the defense was pretty good as well. Javon Hargrave was making himself known against the first string of the Patriots. Cam Newton had some difficulties throughout the day. Mac Jones had a couple of difficulties throughout the day. It's cool to see, and they had a couple of photos up on Eagles Twitter about a group of guys, you know, from the Crimson Tide, and they showed Landon and they showed Mac Jones and Devontae Smith, and you know, Jalen Hurts was in there too. It was a cool photo, I'm not gonna lie. And you know, between all that, you know, other notes, we heard about Darius Slay. We heard about Darius Slay colliding with Avonte Maddox on the play, and he was a little bit worried about that one, but he seems to be okay. The last thing we need is one of our better corners on the squad getting nicked up. So, but looks like we got our first guest in here, cycling between 6 to 9 people in the chat. Shout out to y'all. But we'll get this going here while the lines are open, and the first one being my good friend AK that does the Eagles Uncensored podcast. As always, good to see you, man. What is going on? You got yourself a call-in coming up for the 200 sub giveaway. But other than that, you know, good to see you, man. And what's going on?
Not much, man. Just chilling. Thought I'd drop in and talk a little football with you real quick while I still got time.
Of course, of course. So we went over a little bit in your call in earlier today and whatnot, but yeah, yeah, yeah. You definitely know. You definitely know.
I
Uh,
plead the fifth. I ain't saying shit.
but I'm under, I'm under the, I'm under the impression right now of the fact that it wasn't necessarily talked about much in the first conversation, but you know, tomorrow starts the first series of roster cuts, and like I was saying, the Eagles have to cut it down to 85 before the preseason game. So, I mean, do we even honestly have an idea on players that were on the roster bubble that may be a victim to what's going to happen tomorrow that may not make the team? I guess it's tough to call because it is early and we do
It
have to
is.
go through three of those. But this is the first one, and I'm assuming that this is going to primarily focus on the performance of some guys in the Steelers preseason game, and I can't even begin to think on who they're going to take out first. But what is important is that we're around. I think I want to say we're around 89 right now. And that includes the two waivers of Caleb Wilson and Adrian Killins, which Caleb Wilson actually got picked up by the Washington football team, so he's no longer available unless he gets waived again. So I think we're at 89 with the addition of Mark and Michelle. So I mean,
Yeah.
it is awfully early, but I'm still trying to figure out like who would be the first victims of the first day of roster cuts.
That man, it's really hard. You make a valid point because I didn't expect to see Killings going this quick. That really surprised me. I knew he probably wouldn't make it, but I didn't think he'd fucking drop this quick. I thought he'd at least last for the second, maybe even possibly the third. He'd be one of the last. But hell, they cut his ass. What before? Right after preseason? What was it? The game? Was it before or after? After,
It was
right?
after the preseason game.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like either he really messed up in that preseason game and they didn't see what they wanted from him, or I don't know what the hell happened. But that was definitely a shocker to me. I mean, there's more guys on this team that I felt deserved to be kicked off before him. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. It's who knows who's on the bubble right now. Like I said, it could be someone you're not even expecting.
Yeah,
So
and it is difficult because I mean, throughout the offseason we seen that Adrian Killins got I think he got a extended rookie contract of like an extra 2 years.
wasn't it like 2 years?
Um,
Yeah, 2 years.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it was Adrian Killins and it was Elijah Holyfield that got the same type of got the same type of contract extension in that regard. But
yeah,
and I looked at it at the same time and I thought, well, when Adrian first got in here, he was a running back, undrafted free agent. So now when we
yep,
get into this offseason, we seen that he went running back and converted, and he got switched to the wide receiver spot. So normally, like in these kinds of situations, a coaching staff is trying to figure out like the best role for this player. If he doesn't work at one spot, they're going to try and move him to the other and see if he can work there. Maybe,
yeah,
maybe Adrian was a casualty in that regard. And
exactly.
I mean that's the only line that I can draw here as to what went into the wavering of Adrian. And of course, unless he doesn't get claimed by another team, he would be available. Whether it's before or after the final before or after the final roster cuts, he's still available for the moment. And I think this is the second time. I think he went through waiver claims and nobody picked him up. So maybe there's a chance that AK-46 might come back on the squad, but that's still to be determined at this point.
Now, okay, here's the thing I got to ask. Before they did the contract restructure this year, was there time still on his contract? Like, could he have came into spring training without a new contract? Because my point is, if you were going to cut him this fucking early, why'd you restructure him? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
so that's kind of my head scratcher is if you're going to sign a guy to 2 years and then you end up cutting him, well, why didn't you just let him come in on his remaining anyway and cut him? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I was wondering what his contract looked like, because that I don't understand. If you're going to cut the man, why give him a 2-year contract? Same with Holyfield. If you cut Holyfield, why'd you give him a 2-year contract? That makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think it would solely have to do with just the idea that maybe this is maybe this is the time for them to turn around, and being that there's new eyes on these guys going into the offseason with the new coaching staff. Maybe these are guys that Sirianni would like enough to keep on the final 53, or especially Jamal Singleton being the new running backs coach. So because he's obviously involved in those, decisions. I mean, for what it's worth, I guess opinion based, because he doesn't make the final say on who he wants to keep and who he doesn't, but his opinion does matter quite a lot. So I guess we can also get this guy's take on it, as well as BPS makes his entrance. So, I mean,
real quick though, I got to ask this to you, Lindy, to just off that one real fast.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you believe that Huntley has a role in him being taken out? Because I mean, he did do a lot of punt receiving, kick returning. You know, maybe Huntley is the reason that Killings isn't making it, because he kind of, they're the same body type player. They're speed guys. And obviously, maybe Huntley proved a little more, and that's why Killings isn't here. I mean, that might be the only thing I can think of, because you're not going to have two of the same running back on the team, So,
well, the old coaching staff did have a similar plan for Jason Huntley, and we actually seen him in special team situations because they wanted to take advantage of his explosiveness, whether it's through punt return or kick returns. But I think we've seen him a little more in kick returns than we did punt returns, because they did have Jalen Reagor out there, and they had Boston Scott out there, whether it was on punts specifically, and then they tried to use Jason Huntley, a guy who's pretty quick himself and can cover a lot of ground. So they wanted to see that if they had an advantage there in using him in that aspect of special teams, and I think that's what we're seeing a little bit of, because he kind of does bring that bit of, that quirkiness and that explosion that a guy like Boston in special teams.
I call him like a Darren Sproles type, because he's only like 5'6", 5'7". Like, he's a small dude. Both of them are. And they're shifty little guys. So, I'd like to think they're trying to find another Darren Sproles, so to speak. And it's funny that I even say that, because 3 days ago he showed up to our practice, just as a Veteran Day thing. So hopefully he got to have some good words with Huntley there and teach him a little bit. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it was him, Brent Selleck, and Connor Barwin, but Brent and Connor are actually on the staff. So yeah, man, I wish we can get Mighty Mouse in that, and
right,
and at least be an assistant to Jamal Singleton. Like, how cool would that be?
Put him on special teams, man. He'd be great as a special teams coordinator.
Even that would work as well. Kind of do what the Mavericks are doing right now. Now they're bringing back JJ Barea in some sort of capacity when it comes to coaching. So, yeah, I mean, so Jordy and BPS enters the fold here of pretty educated opinions here, and of course, State of the Birds call in. We got to get the word of use to as well, since you have joined, and we'll get to some of that in a minute. Caitlin also asks as well. She says, "What is my biggest hope for the Eagles season this year?" There's a lot that we can hope for there's a lot that we can hope for when it comes to the result of the regular season for the Eagles into 2021. But I guess to simplify it best, what I want to hope for in general is consistency. That I think that's the easiest thing that we can ask for here in terms of the football team is consistency on in terms of the players. Consistency and communication between the players and the coaching staff, and just like sticking to what have a plan and execute it. And that was one of Carson and Doug Peterson's famous words. Is all we heard was we didn't execute. But as for how exhausted we got it at some points, but it still holds true even with new guys, and especially going into a season with a lot of new faces. Sirianni is trying to run his kind of offense that he grabbed from multiple teams and multiple influences for that matter. So I think that's the most important thing, in my opinion, is just consistency and growth. If I could simplify it in the best of terms to satisfy every expectation. So I think you three would be in agreement with that.
Hope. The question was hope.
Yeah. What is Caitlin asked me, what is my biggest hope for the Eagles season this year?
Biggest hope is that Jalen Hurts is the man. That way we ain't got to spend any draft picks on a new fucking quarterback next year.
Yeah, that's true.
That's my biggest hope. I swear to God. Like, I believe this kid is going to be great. I believe he's going to be our franchise quarterback for years to come. And I hope to God I'm right, because we have a lot of holes to fill, and I don't want to spend any more draft capital on a damn quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess we'll keep this going. So, Jordy, do you have any, or what is your biggest hope for the Eagles entering 2021, whether it's the start of it or the outcome?
Well, my biggest hope is, depending on what we do with our running back committee, that we stick to a committee, because it's got to be very balanced, because as we've seen in places like Buffalo, if you have one kind of back, it doesn't work. So one of my biggest hopes this year is we balance out this running back room and we use a lot of them consistently, because a lot of the guys in that room bring a lot to the table, and they can all be dynamic and explosive in their own ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I dropped a video on that earlier today. Asking the fan base what our concern level is in terms of the issue that seems to continue to plague Miles Sanders, and that's him with his ball security and not being able to, hang on to a pass, or like let alone catch it consistently. Between the fumbling issues that he had the last couple of years, totaling 6, or and of course the quarterback was a product of this, but out of 52 targets, Miles only caught 28 of those, and those aren't exactly the kind of numbers that a guy in Nick Sirianni, who we have seen in the past talking about that Colts offense and how they like to have those dynamic running backs, whether they can run it up the gut, or catch it coming out of the backfield, splitting them out onto a route. And that still seems to be bugging Miles to this day right now. So then, last but not least, we'll swing it to BPS on what his biggest hope is for the Eagles going into this year. Take it away, man.
I think the obvious answer is to stay healthy. That's literally the only answer I could say. Uncensored said too. That's reasonable. Of course, we want Jalen Hurts to play really good, because you don't want to spend capital on any other quarterback next year. For instance, you don't want to trade your entire, maybe just for this year, you don't want to trade your entire future just to get Deshaun Watson. So that's one. But Just to stay healthy, man. I don't want another injury to happen. I want to stay healthy. I want to stay consistently healthy, and I don't want another injury plague season.
Yeah, man, no doubt. I mean, we just can't go through it again. Especially with the injuries that we're already dealing with through camp here. As we went through the injury notes earlier, I mean, yeah, we got some guys coming back, but they're limited, and we don't exactly know what the timetable is on them. And yeah, we're hearing that Devontae Smith may be. It may be possible for him to play in the preseason game against the Patriots, but and I get that we only have 3 preseason games in this offseason, but I'm trying to I'm in a cause for pause right now, especially with him being the most prized possession that we got out of the draft, that Heisman winning wide receiver, the guy that knew Jalen Hurts the most for what it's worth. And it's a shame that he's already dealing with this. But the last thing I want to hear is for him to go into this preseason game and aggravate that knee again. So I just hope that the Eagles make sure that they take every precaution they possibly have, and just keep Devontae as healthy as possible. Like if he's not 100% to go into this preseason game, I would not push it, but I would also understand at the same time if you have to play him, because realistically you're running out of time to get some chemistry and continuity going between your quarterback and your most prized wide receiver. So yeah, man, I'm at a crossroad with that one, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, I want to say congrats on 200 subscribers, man. I forgot to say that to you the last time I talked to you, so congrats on that. Keep grinding, keep grinding, and keep growing, man. You're going for places.
Yeah, man. No, I think you dropped a comment on the video I dropped when I said I hit 200. So it works either way.
I meant yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha. Jock Talk goes, my biggest hope is we win the Super Bowl. Those are pretty high hopes. Not gonna lie.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but hey, we all have dreams, don't we?
Yeah, I know. The last thing I want to do is have a box of Kleenex tissues next to me when that doesn't happen. I'm out. So
I'll cry worse. I'll cry worse than Philly 500 did, and that's not even a lie. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no doubt. Sugar Daddy goes, go Mavs. You already know MFFLs. I dropped a video for our Mavs today about this Lowry marketing business and him still being in conversations, and we're hearing like there's a 30 to 40% chance that he may end up in Dallas, and I'm not exactly liking the idea. I'm not there. I don't want to say I'm on the fence, but I'm more off the fence than I'm on the fence. But I do get the points to why to bring him in. But
you're at 200 subs already. Like, sheesh, you in uncensored.
Well, I mean, it took me about 9 to 10 months to get there, so it's still good. It's still good.
Yeah, I mean,
man, I just wanted to come back real quick and tell you I appreciate you having me on, man. And keep doing what you do, man. Don't stray away from it. You kill it. People will catch on.
Yeah, no, man. I love my sports teams too much, and to not talk about them. And this is what I pretty much set out to do when I created my channel, man. So you already know the deal, and appreciate that, man. Good luck.
Hey, you got all our respect, man. No matter what your channel might look like, you definitely have content creators respect. You're knowledgeable. You know your shit, and we respect you for that. So,
yeah.
Numbers can't tell you who you are. Just know
that's factual right there, and I don't care what anyone says.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that's it. Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it's all it all comes down to it all comes down to who's willing to ride with you when they hit that subscribe button or if they hit that like and stuff like that.
Oh my God, Bobby be killing. Come on now, stop saying that, bro. You're crazy if you think Luka's overrated.
I don't know, man.
You have a good stream, man. Hopefully, I'll see you later.
All right, AK, man. Appreciate you, dude. Good luck.
I thought Bobby was just trolling the first time he said that. Now he keeps saying it like, does he actually think that? Like, are you crazy? You're crazy.
No, I think it's trolling at this point because, like, I know I think I have an idea on who Bobby exactly is because he probably changed his name, and I don't know what I ever did, but maybe it's because I'm actually a Mavs fan instead of a Sixers fan, but I can't help it.
Hype video's about to drop. Hype video alert. Hype video alert.
So. Looks like Bird Gang 31 in the house as well. What's going on, man? Good
What's up, Bird Gang?
Popping in here. Another one who's been on such a substantial grind as soon as he entered, the platform that is YouTube. Like,
how was he at 400 in 3 months? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like in a month, in like a month and a half to 2 months time, he's already over 440, and you just have to. I guess it just comes down to the fact that you tip your cap to that. It's you make your, well, I can't say you make your channel, but your subscribers do, obviously, because that's how it works on this platform. But I guess what I'm getting at is if you're recognized for the dedication that you're putting into the content and the amount of stuff that you're adding to your channel, you're going to get noticed for it eventually, and sometimes that's what happens in terms of success. So
you're telling me, bro?
Yeah,
I just doubled that number that I was once on.
Yeah, I mean, and Jordy obviously knows this, and through years of conversations on Discord and talking about the Eagles, and then me actually getting to this spot of talking to Birds on this kind of platform that I never thought I'd be able to do until I got out of my own head about, like I was saying earlier, like a lack of confidence thing, and speaking, because that's what this basically is. I mean, there's even a degree for that, for public speaking, but Jordy can attest to that, and then somebody else backstage that I haven't seen in a minute can also attest to this. That we've been talking for. Jay Fizz is well. Goodness, making an appearance. Good to see you, man.
We got the trio back together. It's been a
while. What's good, yo? I missed you guys so much. You have no idea. I have missed each and every one of you so much, man.
How you been, man? What are you thinking of our Birds so far?
Oh, man, I'm good. Life is good. I'm very blessed. I still think how do I explain this? So, as a team, I'm very happy where we're at. Again, going back even to the last 2 seasons, I didn't think that the talent on the team was the problem. I always thought that the health on the team was the main issue. Now, seeing that we got our entire O-line back healthy, we not only have the D-line back, but we also have a lot more exciting pieces too. I mean, I was having a conversation with a guy on Twitter earlier today about the 2017 D-line. And looking at Kerrigan, again, obviously he had the surgery on his thumb, but him being a upgrade over Vinny, having an older, bit more wiser Derek Barnett, Milton coming in looking like a tank. Like this D-line might be a little bit better than that 2017 D-line, but we'll see how that goes. Again, DBs having a nice little tandem of 2 very solid corners. Loving that. We'll see more from our safeties and how they all get along. It's just, honestly, the biggest question mark is, for me personally, is everybody going to stay healthy? And how far does the team itself think it's going to go with the talent around it? If they feel like they can make the playoffs, I I can see that argument being made. I don't really see anybody else in the division stomping us out as far as the talent they have on the team that we can't go that we can't compare to. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we go and how we're feeling. Also, I'm excited because I haven't heard one name this whole offseason, and that name is Elijah Holyfield. I'm so happy. I've heard nothing from that man this entire year.
You're really on the opposite of the Elijah Holyfield train?
Throw it in the trash. I don't want to hear it. I haven't heard it, so I'm happy. Everything's okay.
I heard a little bit about Holyfield.
You heard something?
I'm not really, but I heard a thing here or there, but it's not really in reference to his performance.
Oh, okay. Well, look, long as it's not on the team, I could care less. There's no reason for that.
I want him to land on the team.
Really? On a practice squad or like on the active roster?
Well, if he's not going to lead the practice squad, I'd be fine with that because he's young and he can be developed.
What do you see him doing that we couldn't pick somebody else up who's better at it? Because he's supposed to be the big bruising back. However, we have Sanders, who can be a bruising back. He does the best. He does his best running through the interior. And again, he's not really catching well and everything like that, which is fine with me personally. But because he's a home run hitter waiting to happen. We have Jordan Howard, who in the preseason game showed exactly what I was talking about. Didn't really get to run, but showed that he's going to be a great asset as far as pass blocking and just being a presence there. And what's it called? Johnson, is his injury back up and is he okay to go?
Yeah, he's week to week. His meniscus, I think, is acting up again, so he's on the injury list, man. That's one of the bigger disappointments to me. I mean, we brought him in. I think we brought him in off of waivers. I think he was waived by the Detroit Lions, and we ended up bringing him in, and he was supposed to be in that competition, in that room of competition, for the running backs. I think around. We're going to give it maybe, between the second and third, I would think, because, that was one of the battles. It was him and Jordan Howard. And, this is such a setback now. But, at the same time, I mean, a lot of us seen the size comparison between him and Miles Sanders. But, Miles is, Miles, in terms of injury, is nowhere near Kerryon, where he had that meniscus tear, and it still seems to be flaring up on him. And I date this back to like his introductory press conference where he talked about that going into the season he was going to keep his knee brace on, and I'm thinking, oh man, what is this going to mean for the health of that knee going forward? Like, did he just develop a complacency and getting used to keeping his knee brace on, or is it still a little bit weak? And it looks like it turned out to be the latter, which is unfortunate for him. Being the best ability is availability, and now he's suffering from it. And Jordan Howard is taking every bit of the advantage, especially we seen him in pass protection, laying out that linebacker, giving such an open pocket for Jalen Hurts when that free rusher came in, and Jordan Howard just laid him out. And he understands this is his last resort. This is his last chance to keep playing the sport that he loves to do. And shout out to Jordan, but this doesn't spell a good camp for Kerryon Johnson, because he wasn't doing much even before his knee got aggravated again.
Outside of Kerryon Johnson, do you think, let's say Kerryon comes back and he's just okay, he's not really doing better or worse than what he's been doing in camp, do you want Elijah over him? Given us being able to see what he could do on the football field.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Kerryon. We've heard a lot of good about Huntley. Apparently his pass blocking is 100 times better than it was in Detroit. And here's the thing about Kerryon. You can get a little. there's certain backs that can do a little bit of what Kerryon does. Nobody's got the package Kerryon does in general, but you can get a little bit from different backs. Howard, he might have drive because this is his last chance, but Holyfield is someone you can really develop. He's someone who's been on the roster for a while. He's been getting developed, and realistically, you can bring in him, and he's somebody you can develop the way you want to. And not only that, he hasn't got any snaps, so he's got no wear and tear, so you really shouldn't have to worry about injury, at least not immediately.
I feel you. I feel you. It's just what have you seen from his tape that made you go, he's somebody that we should keep around? As far as like, because I'm all for keeping talent as close to us as humanly possible. But even looking at his tape, he didn't do anything majorly to make me go, okay, cool, this is somebody that I can see us like going all in on. Like who was the running back we had from your Notre Dame in 2018?
Josh Adams.
Josh Adams. Yeah. Josh Adams was a home run hitter. His only issue was just making sure that he was on the field and available. But if the roles were reversed and it was Josh Adams here instead of Elijah, I would be all for it because you can see that this is what he can do at the next level. So what have you seen from him that made you go, we should keep him around?
It is, but isn't necessarily what I've seen from him. It's mostly just the coaching staff, especially one as young as this, I think could do a lot with him and could do a lot with his development. As to where Kerryon, injuries are a concern, and he was in Detroit for a while, so he's already partially into his development. Then he's older than Holyfield, and then Howard's a whole different can of worms. He hasn't been consistent. He's jumped team to team to team, and he almost retired, so he's a different story. But it's just Holyfield. It's all about the development, and I think this staff is going to be a very good staff for development. And I'd be willing to bank on that right now.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, Elijah up to this point has had at least 2 years with Deuce Staley. I mean, a well-respected running backs coach that was the assistant, that was the assistant head coach to Doug Peterson, obviously. But so Elijah's been here for about 3 years now. He's going into either his third or his fourth, and he was, he recently got a new deal for an additional 2 years, like Adrian Killins did. But Adrian got exposed to waivers, so that can still possibly happen to Elijah. But this is the thing: if Elijah is in that similar category, like as a power back, and if he's shown enough to be, utilized in, outside of the fourth string where he can't seem to escape in the depth chart, if he has shown enough, then why would you consider to bring back Jordan Howard again? Because at that point you wouldn't need him. But Jordan is a more proven running back. I mean, I think people continue to forget that this man had rushed for 1,000 yards 3 consecutive years, and he would have done it again in his fourth. He was about like 45 odd yards short because Matt Nagy preferred Tariq Cohen over him, and they had to split the carries. So, Jordan Howard was a Pro Bowler at one point, and yeah, he did have a fall from grace at one time, but his talent level, as of right now, is a lot more than Elijah's. So, I mean, we want to talk about development, but if Elijah can't seem to escape, that depth, deep in the chart, I don't know if he has a chance to ever prove his worth.
I agree 100%. And also to piggyback off of that, just going back to my point earlier, is that Jordan before he came to Philly was that guy. He was supposed to be the big back to replace Jay Ajayi in that situation. We were going to ride with him and everything's going to be cool. And then his injury took over. And then after the injury, while he was still playing with us, though, he was balling out. Him and Miles Sanders had a nice little, I don't want to say relationship, but they had a nice little back and forth with each other again, the biggest play coming from that was the game in Buffalo, I think, where Miles had the 80-yard touchdown led by Jordan blocking. It was wonderful. So we've seen what they could do together. It's just been a thing of injury. And again, him going to Miami being in disarray, and then him leaving Miami and then coming back to Philly and then being hurt again. It's just its health has been more against him in Philly than anywhere else. And it's not a talent situation. But to piggyback off of your development talk, how do you guys feel about keeping Andre Dillard and letting him stick around and continue to learn from Jeff Stout? So that way we have another big tackle and ready to go if we need him. Me personally, I think he hasn't really gotten a fair shake in Philly. If you remember his first season, he came in. I mean, obviously he was still pretty raw. And then for us to put him in a position where he had to play the right side, never having played the right side, and he completely bombed it over there. But he still showed flashes of him being able to play in this league than having last year where he tore, I think it was his pectoral, correct? If y'all remember? Yeah. Thanks, guys. Where he tore his pec.
That's my fault. I was actually reading something.
Where he tore his pec. And then he had to sit out the season. And then we saw the fruits of Jeff Stout coming in with Jordan Mailata. And him being able to come in and not only start, but be a consistent, really, really, really good starter. So I think, me personally, I'm seeing a lot of people saying we should trade him away. I don't think we should ever trade talent, especially talent that we somewhat invested in, with us going up so high and even trading up to go pick him. Well, not high, but we traded up to go pick him over the Texans. And I think another year under Jeff Stout would be great for him. I really don't see us turning him away for it. Again, man, injuries is the number one thing. I don't see us turning away talent when we know injuries can derail an entire season, and we've been through it for 3 years in a row. So how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, Andre is entering his quote-unquote third year because we didn't see him in 2020, and I guess thankfully we didn't see him in 2020 because he just would have been another victim to that, that carousel of a offensive line rotation that occurred due to injury in the first place. But the wild card here is LaRaven Clark. Now he just got recently so he's the wild card. He recently got activated off of the PUP list. It was expected that he was not going to be ready for the week one matchup. But he seems to be progressing a lot further than expected, and maybe this could be a similar story to Brandon Brooks going through his Achilles issues, even though he tore his twice, and LaRaven's going through it the first time. But LaRaven is actually younger. I mean, he's been a veteran in this league, and former third-round pick from Indianapolis back in 2016. I think he's 28 years old. So. With that said, I think the wild card in this is going to be LaRaven Clark, how he looks coming off of the injury. And then, I think the other one here is injury itself, knock on wood. If so drastically, Jordan Mailata goes through something again, like, we've seen a couple of years ago, he was dealing with back issues at one point, and, it was getting in the way of some difficulty of him staying on the field consistently. So with that said, in that kind of situation, you would want Andre Dillard, obviously, and plus he's a first round talent. But at the same time, you make that kind of investment, and Andre still has not, he still hasn't been able to show his value here. You just talked about how the Eagles traded up to get him and everything, and we passed the Houston Texans. And I didn't Brandon Brooks used to be a Houston Texan too? I think there's a coincidence there as well. So I mean, outside of that, and and it's also intriguing as well, for a trade package for him, even though I'm not sure what his value is right now, since he can't stay on the field and he wasn't looking very good in camp to begin with, because he seems to suffer from opposite issues in his technique than Jordan Mailata does. Jordan can handle the bull rush, but with more finesse pass rushers, like they can get around him a little bit, whereas Andre Dillard's the exact opposite. He's got fantastic footwork, but he can't handle a bull rush because he's just too small, and his arm length isn't there to contain those blocks. So it is definitely a crossroad for one. And then at the same time, like, there's going to be an intrigue there, as far as a trade scenario, because players in the trenches are one of the most valuable positions out there, and somebody always needs an offensive lineman. And if a former first round pick enters the market, I'm sure people are going to want to snag him at depending on the cost. But I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see in that regard. But as of right now, Dillard just can't stay on the field, and that's hurting him the most.
Yeah, and two keys to this are, one, I've heard things that his mind's not 100% there. He doesn't necessarily have the full drive to develop and hit that next level. But the other thing is, he's the odd man out in terms of he's the only one that's not versatile really on that line. Everybody else can swing over. I mean, you've got guys like Pryor who can play guard and tackle.
Yep.
Mailata, you can probably swing to the other side. Everybody can move around except Dillard. And Dillard's not necessarily the most healthy, and that combination, and with having LaRaven behind him, I think it's possible to trade him, especially with teams that need tackles right now.
Well, not to mention that versatility is one of Stoutland's strongest qualities, like his strongest requirements, in a sense, in the talent that he sort of requests the football team to bring in for him to work with. And Jordan Mailata is one of his most prized possessions, like the development that he went through, being a seventh round rugby player, to get to this point, and he's just bullying people. So and at the same time, you have to imagine that if he's able to do this with Mailata, then why isn't this happening for Dillard? Yeah, I mean, you can, I guess it's an analogy type of phrase that I can put together quick. It's like you being given the answers to a test or whatever, and you refuse and you don't acknowledge to write them down. I mean, this could very well be that kind of scenario for Dillard, in terms of trying to improve on learning the position. I mean, to go from having to play in his rookie year and have some quality snaps against Khalil Mack against the Bears in 2019, and I think he did okay in the Seattle game or something like that. And then they tried to throw him in at right tackle because of injuries against I think it was against Dallas, and it ended up being a total disaster. So yeah, I mean, that's another element that's working against Dillard right now, is his lack of versatility.
I'm with you. I get it. It would be nice to have people who can play multiple positions, but if we could get him right at left tackle, and we can sit him down there just like we did with JP, and what I'm saying, the earlier years of JP, not the last 3. All right, we can get him just anchored over there. That helps the team so tremendously, and that's what I'm hoping on, that something ends up clicking, and he gets a chance to show what he can do in some way, shape, or form. It's just I'm so against trading talent on a team that we consistently say, man, if that guy was healthy, or if we had somebody behind him that could just be serviceable. We didn't even need superstars, just serviceable people. So I'm all for keeping people that may eventually end up being okay. One more question, and then I got a jet. I'm actually supposed to be at a museum right now. So, speaking of trades, is there a trade? Well, actually, I have two questions. Is there a trade, one, that you guys see right now? I know it's super early in the season. We don't even know really what the team is going to look like. But is there a trade for a player that you think can put us in a position that'll take us, maybe not over the top, but it'll definitely get us right? That'll definitely make us a team that everybody should be terrified of.
I guess it depends on how the organization is approaching this season. I mean, whether that player is offensive or defensive. There's people that would attest to the idea of it being offensive, since the Eagles don't necessarily have a veteran receiver that can show these guys the ropes of, what it's like playing in the NFL.
Don't you disrespect Greg Ward like that. Don't you disrespect that man.
He's labeled a veteran, but I mean, he is like 26. So, quarterback turned receiver. I mean, he does have a veteran type of presence, but he's not, I guess he's not a pure wide receiver in the respect, even though he's good at what he does. But defensively,
he has the most game-winning receptions in that wide receiver room. You respect that man.
That's the reason we call him old reliable.
That's true. I mean, I think Greg Ward still has a spot on this roster. I mean, whether Sirianni wants to go to whether he wants to go to a speed package and maybe throw Watkins in the slot or what have you, something like that, because we've seen him in training camp go against DBs in the slot. I think he took a couple of snaps there today in the joint practices against the Patriots, and he was lighting some guys up on slants like Jalen Reagor does. So, Quez has been the talk of the town offensively next to his quarterback and some other players. But defensively, that's a tough one. I mean, outside of linebacker, would it be linebacker? Would it be a corner? Like those are the only two positions that that come to mind, because being one, Darius Slay only has 1 year left on his deal, and by the end of his contract, he's going to be 33, approaching 34, and then Steven Nelson was brought in here only on a 1 year deal. He'll end up being 29. So depending on how he plays, are we going to end up giving him a Darius Slay type of contract too? I doubt the money is going to be there for him, but when I say that, like, we have to get into a position where we have the talent to develop in-house. And while it's always good to have those kinds of veterans, but we've been relying on that for quite a bit for a while now. I mean, whether it was Ronald Darby or Patrick Robinson, and now it's Darius Slay, and then you bring in Steven Nelson. Nobody else in that cornerback room seems to have taken that next step and claim that I'm next, and that could very well be a problem. The linebackers I'm not necessarily worried about, because there is a decent depth there to build on, but outside of corner and then maybe safety, depending on how Kayvon Wallace turns out, and Anthony Harris is here. Rodney McLeod, I don't think he has much time left, going through a second ACL tear. I don't know where he's going to be in terms of health. So, we have to figure out a future at the safety position. We have to figure out a future at the corner position, outside of Zech McPherson, because he's still in development. Linebacker, I'm okay with right now, being that TJ Edwards is working on his craft. He's getting better. Alex Singleton seems to be a tackling machine. Eric Wilson is looking good as a coverage backer. He got an interception today, so he's working pretty well in that Jonathan Gannon defense that he's familiar with. So, in terms of trades, like, I don't know. Like I said, it's just going to depend on how the Eagles see it going into this year, whether they're in win now mode, or if it's going to be one of those guys that can help carry these young players along and teach them how to win in this league.
I agree. Sorry, I got to chat. My ride just called me. Sorry about that, man. But listen, I love you guys. Both of you have been grinding. I peeped it. Jordy, I've seen most of your shows, not every one, but I've seen most of them. You keep going. You keep being great. Lindy, congratulations on 200, my guy. Keep being great. Keep being dope. I will be around a lot more as soon as I finally sit down. So once the season starts, you guys should see my face a lot more. But I love you both. Both of you keep being great. What'd you say, bro? I'm sorry.
No, no doubt. I mean, we got a preseason game. We got some live play-by-play watch-alongs to look forward to with that. So, yeah, man, we got a whole season ahead of us with an extra game. And, the excitement's definitely going to show up, man. Just appreciate you hopping in. It's been a minute.
Always, man. Yeah. Always. Like I said, I usually be creeping on you guys. I'll see you guys go live. I'll see something, check in real quick, say what's up, or try to type a comment or just watch, leave it on in the background. So it is what it is. But like I said, love you guys. Keep being great. Keep grinding. Also, hey, I have a podcast. I don't be talking – well, I'll talk about sports sometimes, but it's mainly just a bunch of random stuff, me and my guy Miles. It's called Because of Fergie. Don't ask us about the name, but that's the name of the podcast. Just go ahead. I know Jordy's been over there and he subscribed, so go ahead, give it a check out if you get some free time. But love you guys. Got to check. I'm about to go see this Van Gogh exhibit. So I'm really excited about that. So I'll holler at you guys later.
All right, Jay Fizz, appreciate you hopping in, man. Yes, sir. It was good to see you. Man, it's been a minute. But yeah, man, Jordy, we're still going here. A little over an hour into the stream. We've been fluctuating a little bit in terms of viewers, and we got some. I think we got some other action going on YouTube right now. So easy to understand in there. Eagles Uncensored is doing his thing. He's got a call in that he's got going on right now for his 200 sub blanket giveaway. So shout out to him for getting his work done. But yeah, man, I just want to do I had to get my call in today. It's been a minute. But while I got you on here, Jordy, and we got a lot of Eagles football conversation. We got a lot of conversation in. The link is still in the chat for those that maybe want to voice their opinions on how the Eagles are looking so far under Nick Sirianni with this brand new regime of coaches and the progress of Jalen Hurts and these injury issues that we're dealing with. But before we jump into some different things. I wanted to get your opinion on this, Jordy, because I don't think I have yet. And I brought it up a little bit earlier, and it was concerning the drop issues of Miles Sanders, and he doesn't seem to be in a good position right now. That he's still dealing with this problem. And that was one thing that I remembered Jason Avant talking about in terms of how, Miles doesn't seem to have those kind of soft hands to be able to just caress the football as it comes to him like a guy like Boston Scott does. And based on his target to reception ratio, it doesn't look very good. I mean, his rookie year, he was at 80%. And then, because of a bunch of different factors, it turning from whether a quarterback play or Miles himself, that dipped all the way down to 59. So, and even through training camp right now, he's still dealing with this problem. So I have to ask, what is your concern level with the inability to stay consistent in catching the football in terms of Miles?
Honestly, I'm somewhat concerned because that's a big part of his game is catching the ball out of the backfield. He's done it consistently over his past couple seasons in the league. And if he's having drop problems and he's not able to secure the ball, he's not able to do that with that part of the game, part of his game, well, what is that? That means that's going to lower his snap count, and you're going to have to give the duty to somebody else, whether that be someone like a Huntley or whoever. But that just means it's a worse situation for Miles, but a better situation for somebody else. So honestly, it worries me a little bit.
Yeah, man, especially for the expectations that we have placed on Miles Sanders entering year 3, and in a way, him and Dallas Goedert are both playing for extensions right now, and they've been in positions where they pretty much deserved it based on their play so far, but. In terms of where Miles is right now, like this is one of the the core aspects of football is actually catching it, and him being as dynamic of a running back as he is, being under Saquon Barkley as a teammate coming from Penn State, and us not necessarily remembering him to have this kind of issue coming out of college, next to the ball security problem with him fumbling the football. Yeah, that's one thing, but that's one of his responsibilities is catching the football and being in that type of dynamic atmosphere. And now you bring in a guy like Kenny Gainwell, who seems to really have a knack for doing that. Boston Scott is pretty good at catching the football. I think Jason Huntley is pretty decent at catching the football. So I'm wondering when the pressure, or if the pressure is starting to, elevate in Miles to just, develop better hands and do what he's supposed to. Because, yeah, we know how great of a runner he is. But, outside of 2020 and the difficulties that he was going with there, that a lot of people have already suffered from at the expense of poor quarterback play and vanilla play calling and not knowing when to run instead of pass and what have you. But yeah, I just did not think that this would be something that Miles would carry in to a new offseason with an opportunity to work on these kinds of facets of his game, where in 2020 he wasn't able to do that, simply put, because of COVID. So this is not an issue that we should be worried about in terms of our number one running back.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Appreciate you coming in, Angel 3. Says, have a good night, y'all, and peace out. You already know, go Birds. So I guess to close this out a little bit early, we are quiet, in terms of the stream and in terms of the entertainment for the time being. But since you're in here, Jordy, and I do know that you expressed your thoughts in the comments, but I did want to get your updated opinion on what's going on with the Boston Celtics in conjunction with your Fighter from 3 podcast, where it's all about Boston all the time. You got the Common Flock for the Eagles, and then you have the Golden Dome for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. But it was seen today on Twitter. Multiple reporters dropped the information. Woj bomb. The Boston Celtics have agreed to a 4-year deal in retaining Marcus Smart. It was 4 years, $77 million. It seemed that Marcus Smart expressed his happiness in getting this deal done. Between retaining him, you still have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum there. Al Horford is back, and then you got Dennis Schroeder in the fold. That adds a bit of depth to the point guard spot. What does this mean overall that the Celtics were able to keep Marcus Smart, going into a new year with a new head coach, and then Brad Stevens taking over Danny Ainge's role?
Now, this was a good thing retaining Smart, because this team, with what they've done this offseason, they're gearing up for the short term for now and banking on guys like a Peyton Pritchard, who has a connection with Ime. He's known him for a while. And guys like Aaron Nesmith, Yamadur, those guys to step up in the long term, which is why you're seeing guys like Dennis Schroeder come in. Al Horford's going to be here for a time. Enes Kanter just came back. So, all in all, this was a move for the short term, but it's also potentially something for the long term, because that means we've kicked it down the road necessarily for now of the core, which is built around Smart, Tatum, and Brown. Those are your three main guys. So I'm very happy that he's here. It means the core is sticking together and they're building on it. And honestly, it's been a very good offseason for Brad Stevens so far, stepping into that Ainge spot. I didn't expect this offseason.
And I guess I would take that as a good thing, from a fan's perspective. And, you covered the Boston Celtics. So for this to catch you off guard a little bit, I mean, you have to be a little more than satisfied as to what the Celtics are doing in terms of acquiring players or retaining guys in that sort. And, speaking of that, and I talked about the Lauri Markkanen rumors to Dallas, as it was said that there's a 30 to 40% chance that Lauri Markkanen ends up being a Dallas Maverick. And because the Chicago Bulls are interested in a sign-and trade involving Maxi Kleber. But going through the rumors on Twitter, I actually seen some Celtics fans and some Celtics writers, podcasters, actually talking about rumors of, the Celtics may go after Lauri Markkanen. So give me your thoughts on that and whether Lauri would be a good fit or not for the Green Squad over there.
I don't necessarily know if he'd be a good fit, because you'd have to move him. I think you'd have to move him to center, because that would put him in the spot of Al Horford, because you're not going to put him in Tatum's spot. You're not going to move Tatum to center. You could move Tatum to small forward and then play Markkanen at power forward, but if you do that, then you're probably going to bump Smart to point guard, Brown to shooting guard, or vice versa, and then Schroeder's out of the starting lineup. But I'd be fine with it, but it depends on the cost, because there's going to be a decently high cost. I think Dallas is in a better spot to do it than we are, but if you were to come here for the right price, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy like Dennis Schroeder. The two of them were in situations where they ended up betting on themselves, and they lost because months ago, Chicago had an offer on the table, and Lauri felt that he was worth more and he wanted more money. It was also reported that the Bulls and Markkanen were about $4 to $5 million a year off in his salary, which I think the deal was going to span 4 years. So being that didn't work out, it looks like, this is where we are right now with him being a restricted free agent, him not getting the contract that he was looking for. It has also been speculated that Dallas could pay him about $15 million a year on a 4-year deal. Like I said, man, I dropped a video on it earlier today. Like, I don't know. I really don't. I even made a video on this 3 weeks ago where we were at a bit of a peak with Kristaps Porzingis trade rumors, and Lauri Markkanen was involved in that speculation that that he could be a backup plan if KP were to leave, because they're both respectively they're both stretch fives. KP can take people off the dribble a little bit at his size. Markkanen can do the same thing. While they're both not necessarily great at it and they have dealt with injury issues, they still have a capability. Lowry, I think, is a better spot-up three-point shooter. Like, that is something in his bag that he has that he can work with. But the two of them aren't the most efficient or aggressive when it comes to defense. So, given the sample size that Porzingis has given us last season compared to what Markkanen did for Chicago, I came to the conclusion that Lauri Markkanen would have been a downgrade, going to him from Porzingis. So I'm still on the fence with it right now. And even if we brought Markkanen in while Porzingis is still here, KP's contract is like humongous. He's still owed like anywhere from $35 to $39 million for the next 3 years in that respect, where if Dallas was going to give Markkanen a contract of 4 years, $60 million, that's a lot of money for a guy that would cycle between the third or fourth option. Because, I mean, I don't know if you would be in a position to make your number 2 and your number 3 centers, because we just did re-sign Tim Hardaway Jr. To that extension, and he is a guy that has pretty good chemistry with Luka. He provides starters minutes, he provides bench minutes, so I think he would fluctuate between that third and fourth option spot with Markkanen. So if you're going to give Lowry that much money, that's pretty expensive in terms of where you place him. And in the depth of the Mavericks, I mean, you would almost have to try and cut bait with Porzingis if you feel that Markkanen is a better project to build off of, and if you think that Lowry is a little healthier at this point than KP, where I don't think Markkanen deals with knee issues. I think his injury history is a little bit different to KP's, but for KP at his size to deal with it's either an ACL or an MCL tear, he's not in a good spot right now. But all in all, to close this out, I'm still on the fence with Markkanen, but I do understand where people are coming from in bringing in a younger guy to give away a guy, Maxi Kleber, who is for like $11 million, you would think that he can, he's like $9 to $11 million, I think. And for him to be paid that much, you wouldn't want him to do a little bit more outside of the occasional alley-oop from Luka or three-point shooting when he's hot, and some good defense. So, I understand the people that will want to trade that away for a younger player who's only 24, may I add, that can still develop. So with that said, I mean, we're hitting the hour-and-a-half mark here. It seems that the audience has died down. We did get some good conversations in on the state of the Birds, and I know we tapered off into NBA discussion, being that I wanted to get Jordy's opinion on the re-signing of Marcus Smart, and then we got some Lauri Markkanen news in there for the Dallas Mavericks. So, I think we got some good conversations in. For the time being, we do know that the first round of roster cuts are going to happen tomorrow. The Eagles have to trim their roster down to 85 by 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Thursday, we have the preseason game against the New England Patriots. So there's going to be a lot of content creators doing live play-by-plays. I'm probably going to be doing one myself. I may be able to actually watch this game since it is going to be televised, I think, on NFL Network, and it should be available through Amazon Prime. So I may be able to watch this game to do the play-by-play stream. So be on the lookout for that, y'all. This will conclude this call-in stream. Yeah, it was relatively short, shorter than I expected it to be, but it is what it is. It is a Monday night. It's the start of a new week. We got some traffic going on with other content creators in the house. They're doing their call-ins and such, but thank you to everybody that came. Thank you to everybody that came out to show me some support. We're definitely going to have to do this again. Appreciate you, Jordy, for coming in and stopping by. As always. Shout out to your channel. You can let the people know where to find you and your 3 podcasts that you contribute to.
So, as you know, I am Jordy Fighter. You can find me under that name on YouTube, and you can find me doing my 3 podcasts: the Fighter from 3 podcasts for my Celtics, the Golden Dome for my Fighting Irish, and the Comment Flock for my Eagles. So, go check those out, and I will be out of commission for videos for a little bit. So, expect a little bit different content for the next couple of days, but I'm excited to get it out either way.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I appreciate that. As we close out here, I don't know what this comment is. There's no way that this is a replay. So I don't know why you would waste your breath and waste a click and reporting my channel, because I mean you can clearly see that I'm live right now going through this. So but whatever, it is what it is. You're not going to stop those. You're not going to stop those kinds of people. But with that said, we're going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate all the viewership and all the contribution that you have given me to the call-in, of course, to talk about the very team that we love. Eagles, of course. Fly Eagles fly, bleed green. And for my MFFLs in the building, go Mavs. I don't think our free agency is done yet, so we'll see with the current noises that are happening. But take care of yourselves, everybody, and we'll see you soon.